When I was younger, not that much younger, probably 4 years ago. How long ago was that this happened? I have no idea. Maybe I tried to erase it from my memory. Basically, 7.
You're getting older, Jesse.
Thank you. We got married 4 years ago, and a little bit before that, my dad died. It was difficult. Has anybody here had somebody that was close to them die? Okay. Thanks, Nate. Nate, our technical guy, can we give a little round of applause? That applause will go onto YouTube. Anyway, my dad had a blood disease called Budd-Chiari, and at one point in his life, it caused a clot to go into his liver. He went into a coma. He was in the coma for 8 days after having ascites. He had jaundice, so he was a yellow ducky. And so he had a liver transplant after his coma. And interesting thing happened, his personality changed a little bit. He became more like a teenager again. He loved cartoons after that and started watching Star Trek and stuff. And then not too long, well, I guess a few years, the transplant extended his life by a few years. He still had the disease, but he had blood thinners running through his body so that he wouldn't cause more clots. Well, another clot formed anyway and floated up through his heart and then up into his neck and up into his brain. And pretty soon he had a stroke. He was sitting on the toilet, and we didn't know where Dad was for quite a while. And my mom knocked on the bathroom door quite a few times and then forced it open, and he was on the floor in there, and it wasn't a pretty sight. And she didn't know what to do. She didn't even understand that she needed to call 911, but I did. So I called, and they came, and it was almost like to me it was like they were taking their time picking him up and everything. Like this, if it's a stroke, then shouldn't you be in a hurry, But really, I think that they may have understood that because he had not been attended to for so long, there was really no hope. 4 days later, he died, and I remember going into Safeway immediately after his death, and I was getting a sandwich there, and the cash register person, the cashier, said, "So how's your day been?" And I was like, "Okay," and I didn't want to unleash anything on this poor guy. And he said, "Well, my day's been horrible. Oh man, I got to work late, and I think I got this paper cut. I don't know exactly what he said, but it's something of that nature." And I was in my brain, I was like, I've got a really big card I could play and just make his day much worse, but I didn't, which is good. So have you had somebody that was close to you die? It is tough. It is very tough.
You went backwards.
What?
You went backwards.
Oh. I'll put it this way. There we go. Okay. So, that's the same thing I just said. So there's a true understanding of death. And because it's true, it was brought into the Bible. I was asked the question, is something true because it's in the Bible, or is it in the Bible because it's true? And I realized, well, I guess that the reason, there's lots of things that have been written that aren't in the Bible. So maybe God found the things that he wanted in the Bible or inspired them to be written and then made sure that they got included in the scriptures. Jesus wanted us and wants us now to be well informed about death so that we humans can have hope. We do not want you to be uninformed. This is in 1 Thessalonians. Brothers, concerning those who are asleep, so that you will not grieve like the rest, who have no hope. Since we believe that Jesus died and rose again, in the same way, God will bring with him those who have fallen asleep through Jesus. For we say this to you by revelation from the Lord. So when we have a proper understanding of death as a sleep, we can have hope. Now, this might conflict with some of our beliefs, the ones that we have right now that we have treasured for a long time. But what the passage is saying, I believe, is that really, when somebody is an unbeliever, after death, they look forward to nothing, but we get to look forward to something magnificent, beautiful. I'm going to ask Brenda to take this one. Yeah, when I change the slide, just hit that one.
Which way?
So that it matches. You can figure it out. She's really smart. We'll continue. We who are still alive at the Lord's coming will certainly have no advantage over those who have fallen asleep, for the Lord himself will descend from heaven with a shout, with the archangel's voice and the trumpet of God, and the dead will rise in Christ will rise first. This is kind of giving us a basic chronology of what is going to happen. We look forward to rising from the dead and moving into the sky. Some of us might not die. If God comes during our lifetime, we might never taste that total lack of consciousness that is death. I hope that happens for me. If I was Lazarus, though, maybe I could die twice. Then I'd be a unique guy, I guess. He was raised from the dead, so he's kind of unique to begin with. We continue. Then we who are still alive will be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, so we will always be with the Lord. Therefore, encourage each other with these words. It is encouraging to believe that there's something that will happen after we die that will be fantastic, is it not? This truth of death as a sleep is repeated more than 50 times throughout the Bible. Most Christian men and women who don't read their Bibles much have been confused by a couple of verses. They are confusing verses. And by their upbringing. And many prominent preachers are still confused about the teaching. They think that when we die, we have a soul that goes straight to hell or heaven forever. And I have some hard questions for those preachers. I am making the claim right now that the understanding that I have and that the church that I attend has is actually true, and that many of them are teaching something that is false. I am making that claim. Here are some of the hard questions. How can you claim that God is loving if he's willing to torture somebody forever for only one lifetime of sin? That's not justice. Imagine, there's a lollipop up there, because I want you to imagine a little kid going into a store, stealing a piece of candy, sticking it in his pocket, coming out. He makes it home, maybe. And he starts eating it when he gets home. Where'd you get that? From the store. Did you pay for it? No. I'm going to give you 80 billion spankings. I'm going to burn you forever. That doesn't make sense. Would a parent spank their kid 1,000 times with a whip for stealing a piece of candy? This is the understanding. It's not well talked about. It's not something that they just approach and say out loud, but this is kind of the implication of the belief that God burns you in hell forever. And that's not justice. That's not justice. It's not a loving God. The next hard question is, do you remember, that it was Satan who lied in the garden and said, you will not surely die? That lie is given credit, or the credit for that lie